Toronto Mayor John Tory is leaving his office for the last time at 5 p.m. tonight. 1 week ago, news broke that the mayor of Canada's largest city had an affair with a member of his staff, and Tory announced he would be stepping down. So much has happened. Joining us is one of the Toronto Star reporters who broke that story, City Hall Bureau Chief David Ryder. David, good to talk to you today.
Thank you. Good morning.
I know this is dominating so many conversations in friend circles and in family groups over the last several days. Yeah, I bet. So many people are asking, okay, so he had an affair, bad call, but did he need to resign?
Yes.
Now, you broke this story. How did you think this was all going to play out?
I mean, I knew it would be big trouble for the mayor if he confirmed and we confirmed what we heard was that the affair started while she was a subordinate of his in his office. I mean, after the Me Too movement and all sorts of questions about the responsibility of people in power to people who have less power, I'll admit I didn't think he was going to be talking resignation until we started hearing out of his camp 1 day before we were able to actually publish the story that was a serious consideration for him. By the Friday afternoon, we broke the story at Friday at 7:30. By Friday afternoon, when we were waiting for a statement from Mayor Tory's lawyer, I was hearing from his camp that it was almost certain he was going to resign. So I walked into that dramatic news conference thinking, wow, this is probably going to be it. But of course, in the back of my brain, in politics, anything could happen. He could change his mind, or another advisor could say, don't do it, or just wait. So I was waiting for him to say, I'm stepping down, but I was also a bit shocked when I heard it.
Yeah, me too. So now we know, as of 5 o'clock tonight, John Tory will no longer be mayor of Toronto. So now what? What happens?
Yeah, well, the city's in a little bit of limbo at a very difficult time with all kinds of challenges, financial and crime and all otherwise. But there is a process. The mayor has spent the last couple of days in his office preparing to hand power over to Deputy Mayor Jennifer McKelvey, who you see there. She will not be acting or interim mayor. She continues to be deputy mayor. She assumes most of his powers, but she does not become a strong mayor. People might know Doug Ford, the premier, gave John Tory at his request extraordinary powers to pass certain kinds of things with only 1/3 of council support, something we don't think exists in any other municipality in the world, maybe as far as like the free world. She just gets kind of the regular role mayor powers. That continues. There will be a nomination period where people are encouraged to throw their hat in the ring to become the mayor of Toronto, and a lot of people are looking at it. I think probably more than a normal contest.
Yeah.
And then we'll have an election call, and then we'll have an election. So it seems like, I think if City Hall hurries things up, potentially an election in spring, more likely summer at the outside, or early fall.
Okay, so who are the front runners then?
Yeah, I'd say right now the two big ones that people are watching are a former councillor named Anna Bilau. She was the housing advocate. She was a very close ally of John Tory and can kind of say that she will be continuing his ways. There's also Councillor Brad Bradford, who's there on the left. He's a current city councillor, and he's the head of the Planning and Housing Committee. There is Blake Acton, who ran in the last campaign, and he's sort of a law and order, more right-wing candidate. And then Gil Penalosa, who is a urbanist who ran a very strong campaign, came out of nowhere, and came second to Tory last October, although a very distant second.
I want to ask you, David, there's that footage of John Tory sitting in his office, reading the paper with a headline about John Tory leaving his office. I want to show that to our viewers right now because it was this, and it's the Toronto Star. So I stared at this.
Yeah.
I just feel a bit, like the look on his face in council the other day, it just looked like defeated, depleted. And then you see stuff like this. I mean, what do you think his legacy is going to be, and what's next for him?
So I think right now, all we can see, you're kind of in the middle of a cloud, and that's all you can see is cloud. I think, he was mayor of Toronto for 8 years. I think with some distance, and I'm sure some, reputation rehabilitation from people around him and himself, people will say that this is a mayor who, lots of people had problems with on the homeless file and other things, but guided Toronto with a very steady hand through the pandemic. Toronto ended up being one of the most vaccinated big cities in the world. And while obviously there was lots of personal tragedies, overall, we did pretty well, and we've mostly come out of it. And I think that's where people are going to, I think either will be a charitable view on the fact that he was, a decent guy who brought civility and sanity back to City Hall after Rob Ford. Right. I think the fact that that was his brand was part of why it was such a difficulty for him when scandal erupted.
Yeah, well, David Ryder, we appreciate the reporting from you and your team. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Anytime. Thank you.
All right.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.